Hey, Tiffany.
Hello, Kat.
Welcome back to Greening Up My Act.
Thank you.
I hope everyone had a good week off because we're recording this one exactly right after we recorded last week's when we were talking about the mill, quote unquote, composting. So we're on a roll, and we're just going to keep rolling into this next section. But I guess we should introduce ourselves.
Yeah. Well, and this comes out September 5th, so hopefully you have less heat in your area.
I hope there's no end in sight. They're actually keeping pools open later this year through October 1st because the heat wave has no end in sight. So,
whoa.
yeah. And we keep having heat emergency, like excessive heat warning stuff. And the city has to keep cooling centers open, which is really important, but it's like really terrifying because there's no escape.
Yes, that's really scary.
Yeah.
And you said your AC went out, right?
Yeah. It overheated last night.
Oh my God.
Or yesterday afternoon sometime. And I think because we had to have, or Sunday night, we had to have a guy come in look at it yesterday, and I was so scared that it was going to be out. I was going to have to buy a new HVAC, but it just overheated.
Nice. Okay. Well, that's a blessing.
Yeah.
Truly. As a homeowner, that's a serious blessing.
But it's just going to happen again because it's 107 degrees every day this week. So maybe I'll go put an umbrella out there and give it some shade. I don't know. Like, how do you cool off the air conditioner?
I don't know. Well, hopefully by September 5th, you're better.
I hope so too. At least a little bit. Less daylight, if nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why we do this, though. We are devoted
It's like a perfect reason.
Yeah, it's too late, y'all, but it's not too late. We are looking at ways to create a sustainable lifestyle that reduces our individual impact and hopefully influences corporations to do their part to reduce emissions and other things that are causing global climate change. And
not only it's not like a fake sustainable lifestyle like most of us.
Yeah. Like we don't even know what we're doing most of the time, I think, because so much marketing is out there that is, as we call it, green hooey. It tells you this is a good product to choose when it's really just more expensive and less effective and doesn't actually do anything to mitigate the, carbon emissions or waste that it creates or water it wastes or,
chemicals it uses.
Right. Or people it impacts, like waterways it pollutes or, things like that. So
yeah, and we are marketing writers, so we spend our days writing silly words. No, not really.
Well, I don't think either of us markets unsustainable products.
No.
Our marketing words are for the good. But
yeah, we try not to be evil, but that's one goal. But we're really good at seeing through other people's verbiage.
Yep,
I guess.
verbiage, verbal garbage.
Is it verbiage or verbiage?
Either. I think it's spelled verbiage, but it's meant to be verbal garbage is what it stands for.
I had no idea. Okay.
Yeah.
Learned something new.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, yeah, and then we go through systems or products or services and rate them on a scale of 1 to 5 granolas, because what else would you do as eco-friendly warriors? You want to be hippies. And 5 is a crunchy, the crunchiest granola, which is break your tooth off. And a 1 is soggy. Yep. And that's, you don't want soggy granola. We have had a sodden granola before.
So. Oh, no, wait. It was waterlogged.
Waterlogged, yes. I'm sorry. I keep saying sodden because I'm like, it's worse than soggy, but it is waterlogged, yes. So we've had one of those, but most things tend to fall in the 3, right?
Kinda chewy. It depends.
Yeah.
It really depends, but
there's a lot of nuance to it.
Our goal is to find the really good stuff.
Yeah.
So we can tell people like, yeah, do this. Like, for example, plastic forks. Like, those are the one reusable item that you should you should avoid plastic forks and just carry around a fork, and you're like actually doing some good. That was amazing to find out.
Yeah, just keep a fork in your purse. I have
one in my backpack. If you missed that episode, we chatted about reusable stuff a couple episodes back. So
yeah, look for that. It's worth it. Or just keep a mug at work so you don't use a paper cup every time you get coffee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we kind of try to examine like what our individual impact is, and then more like like Kat said, like company wide, like what
Yeah.
can companies do and how can we hold them more accountable, because that's really where the impact is going to be biggest.
Yeah. 100%. Well, and then so this week's episode, last week we talked about compost, but more specifically a brand called the Mill Home Composting System, which isn't actually compost.
Yeah, the
It's
mill kitchen bin.
kitchen bin. That's what it was. Yeah, that and you can't talk about composting without talking about food waste, and you can't talk about food waste without talking about composting. So these two
Mm-hmm.
episodes probably will be really good listened back to back. I'm just going to say.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to start with my sources in no particular order. An article from The Atlantic about expiration dates are meaningless. A company called Recycle Track Systems had a blog on food waste in America. Feeding America, which is the largest network of food banks in the United States, had I got stats on hunger in America from them. Reuters had an article. Harvard study finds food expiration labels are misleading.
Hmm.
A company called Green Biz said, "Why is composting so hard in the United States?"
Hmm.
Project Drawdown had an article about reduced food waste.
I love them.
Yes, they're great. Yeah, they're really great. The Solus Group had an article on restaurant composting and the shift towards zero waste food service.
Hmm.
Berkeley Economic Review had the good, the bad, and the ugly produce movement. And the New
Mm-hmm.
Republic had, does your box of ugly produce really help the planet or hurt it? And then, of course, I had the two biggest ugly food companies are Imperfect Foods. They're at imperfectfoods.com, and Hungry for Harvest is at hungryharvest.net.
Yeah, I get both of those on Instagram.
Yep.
Well, I don't. Did we mention we're talking about food waste, but we're specifically focusing on you're
Yeah, I
focusing
need
on ugly food, right?
I'm focusing on the ugly food movement.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
so excited about that because I know nothing about it and I've always been so curious as to the details.
Okay.
So I'm real pumped.
Well, good. Okay. Well, so you talked last week about how the issue with food waste is at the source. Food waste happens at the source, right?
Hmm.
It's that composting, who cares about composting if people are just throwing away so much food, right?
Hmm.
According to Recycle Track Systems, and they're a waste management company whose goal is a world without waste, which I like.
But then they would put themselves out of business. It's fine. That's
Yeah,
fine.
well, maybe not. I know they're just trying to create a closed loop.
Oh, okay.
It's not really a world without waste, it's a world without stuff in
I
landfills,
gotcha.
basically. Yeah. So Americans waste nearly 60 million tons of food each year.
60
60
million
million
tons.
tons. Yeah. That adds up to about 50% of the entire US food supply. So almost
Did you
half.
say 50?
50%. Almost half. Yep. And that's 325 pounds per person every year.
Oh my God.
Hmm. That's more than twice what I weigh, you know?
My hand is
So,
up to my face
yeah.
and I'm
Shock.
aghast.
Yeah. But it's also, that's $218 billion worth of food just right down the drain.
Oh my
If you want
God.
to talk about excessive lifestyles, Americans lead the world in this, by the way. To break it down, RTS says that 43% of food waste is directly from individual consumers. So this is definitely a place where individual consumers have the most impact.
You said 43%?
43%. Mm-hmm.
Damn. Yeah, we have a lot of impact
Yeah.
in that.
And after that, 40% is from business to consumer stuff. So that's grocery stores, restaurants, or food service companies.
Okay.
So they're throwing out 25 million tons. And a lot of that is ugly food,
Okay.
right? They say. Okay, we'll get into that. It's a little more nuance to that.
Okay.
16% from farms. Again, that is food that is left unpicked or that they couldn't sell.
Okay.
Okay. And then 2% from manufacturers who have produced too much food and don't sell it.
Okay. So that's interesting. So they're not
Yeah.
really doing as bad as, like, the manufacturers aren't doing as bad as.
Well, yeah. And I'm thinking about that like canned food or jarred food or stuff, that just expires before it's sold, I think.
Right.
Okay. So overall, food waste makes up 22% of municipal solid waste. So that's direct to our landfills.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about fast fashion,
22%. Yeah, that's a good
22%.
quarter.
Yeah. And that's not composted, right? That could be composted.
Yeah, right.
So that's the tragedy of that.
Yeah, and we talked about why composting is better last week because
Yes.
if there's oxygen, methane is not produced. If
Yeah.
there's no oxygen, like in a landfill, methane is produced.
Yeah. So we don't want it in landfills. So don't do that. And again, that's Drawdown said it accounts for 8% of global greenhouse gas emissions. Now, RTS
8%.
was the one that said that was 11% of
Oh, right,
global
right, right. Yeah.
greenhouse, but I don't know why they're different. And Berkeley Economic Review says that according to the UN, if food waste itself was a country, it would be the third largest global emitter of greenhouse gases. So it's like US, China, food waste, you know?
Oh my food waste island.
Yeah.
Holy shit
Yeah.
stains.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Bad news bears. Bad news bears. So this is a real freaking issue. Okay. If you care about the environment at all, food waste is a big, big issue. The New Republic reports that every year 30 million acres of cropland, 4.2 trillion gallons of water, and nearly 2 billion pounds of fertilizer are used to grow food that's never eaten. And
Wow.
that's according to a recent study. The latter is particularly concerning since nitrogen-based fertilizer is a major cause of water contamination and a significant emitter of greenhouse gases. So it's not just that the waste itself is ending up in the landfill. It's what creates the waste that is causing the problem, which is another thing we found with fast fashion, right? It's not just that you're getting a quick $5 shirt from Target and then throwing it away after wearing it once. It's also that the amount of work it takes to produce that is causing problems on the
Right.
front end. So yeah, it's a candle on both ends. That's very bad.
Wow.
So why do Americans throw out so much food? This is interesting. I don't think anybody can pinpoint this directly, but okay. 34 million Americans, including 9 million children, are food insecure, according to Feeding America. So that
Wow.
means that that's people who have a hard time getting 3 square meals a day.
Right.
So that's a lot of people. That's
That
like
is a lot.
10%. Although in America, food is plentiful and inexpensive compared to other countries. Okay, I know
Hmm.
inflation sucks right now, and eggs were $9,
Yeah.
a dozen
Dude,
a few weeks ago.
I just posted I just posted this on Instagram. I saw a jar of pasta sauce for
Yes, I saw that.
$16.
$16. Was it handmade by somebody's nonna? Like
It had to have
with
been. They had
gold
to fly
flakes?
Nona over to it was New York, so
Yeah,
they flew her over. I don't know. I was like, "What in God's
I
name
know.
world are you living
It's
in?"
insane. Yeah, and with shortages and stuff, food is really expensive. But really, and this is something that I remember in high school when we had exchange students from Europe, they were like, food is so cheap in the US. It's so cheap.
Hmm.
So we take it for granted.
Yeah.
We produce most of our own food, is one of the things. I mean,
Okay.
yeah, you're getting your out of season oranges from South America,
Mhm.
but we do produce a lot of our own food here.
Okay.
We're pretty self sufficient.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of land to do it.
Yeah. Yes. Number one, we just take it for granted because it's cheap. It's 60 cents to buy a head of broccoli, and I don't care about throwing away 60 cents worth of food, right?
Mhm.
It's cheap. 4 out of 5. Okay, now this is the other thing. 4 out of 5 Americans will throw away perfectly good food because it's past its quote unquote sell by or best by date.
Okay.
So, yeah, okay, we're afraid of food poisoning for sure. That can mean a totally bad weekend, but most food that says it's past its expiration date is totally okay to eat.
Okay.
Well, not expiration date. I should say sell by or use by date. Best
Okay.
if date. Okay. That's something we'll talk about again.
Okay.
Now, according to The Atlantic, the problem is that most expiration dates convey only information about an item's quality. With the exception of infant formula, where they really do refer to expiration, dates generally represent a manufacturer or producer's best estimate of how long food is optimally fresh and tasty. Although what this
Hmm.
actually means varies widely, not least because there is no federal oversight over labeling.
What?
Yep, they just make a guess.
I had no idea.
And it could be vastly different. For instance, I think I read that a gallon of milk sold in Wyoming can be sold 10 days later than it can be in Montana or vice versa, even though, like,
What?
just because they just have different regulations about use by and expired dates. It's not a science. It's not
So
federally
wait, this
regulated.
it's not federally regulated, but the states are
Some states
kind of?
do, yeah,
Okay, some are.
but
Okay.
it's really just up to the manufacturer for them to guess.
Okay.
How
Wow.
long is it going to take for this broccoli to rot?
Mhm.
Quit looking at your sell, especially sell by dates. That's just to make you feel like you gotta buy it now.
Mhm.
But anyway,
I do find some pretty good deals on meat buying them on their
yes,
sell-by dates,
yes,
and it's always been good for me. It's always
yeah,
been perfectly fine.
and yeah, okay. That's we'll get more into that. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Now the other thing about food waste is we just don't compost, which is what we talked about last week. Composting would be so much better. This is partly because there just aren't systems in place in the US to compost in the first place. It's just not easy, right?
Not everywhere, that's for
Not
sure.
everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
According to GreenBiz, we don't have funding for it. We don't have facilities to send compost to in the first place. We don't know how to fix contamination problems, meaning we don't know how to like pull out the little bit of oil that got on the one
Mm.
thing that's,
Mhm.
and we don't have any data on it. Nobody really knows about who's composting what and where.
Huh,
We just don't care.
interesting.
But also, when they try to introduce composting programs, Americans just don't participate. So they did a pilot program in New York and they were all about it. And only 10% of people in New York City participated when offered.
Oh, that's interesting. So was it like a pilot for pickup?
Yeah. Like
Okay.
municipal, like you have a third bin, you have your recycling
Huh.
bin, and
It
and
was this in the
10%.
city?
Yeah, in New
I
York City.
wonder if people are just like, "I don't wanna slosh my
Well, I don't want to, yeah, there's
soup."
soup.
Yeah, soup down 18 stairs or 18
Yeah.
flights of stairs.
Well,
I don't
yeah,
know.
and
I don't know. I don't know.
keeping it. I mean, it is gross. We talked about this last week. It's gross to keep. They have all these recommendations on our Austin Resource Recovery website about how you can keep chicken bones and stuff in your freezer until you're ready to take the compost out to the
Mhm.
curb, which makes sense. But yeah, it's an extra step, and it's not getting your garbage out of sight, out of mind, the way we all want it to be, right? It's
Yeah.
hard. It's freaking hard.
I personally think people are a little afraid of composting, and I think that because I was.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it is kind of magic.
Yeah, it's intimidating too. I feel like there's a lot of like people who do compost can be kind of
Gatekeepy.
hoity. Yes, gatekeepy.
Yes,
Yes,
they're gatekeepy.
exactly.
It's true because it is. It's like, well, this works for me. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
and
a
like
that kind of.
I'm
Well, I
I'm
have a
cool.
Prius and I
Yes,
compost.
totally.
Yeah,
Totally.
the
Yeah.
green badge. Yeah.
And so now that I'm home composting, I'm 100% gonna do that to other people.
Oh yeah. Like, oh, you don't compost? Why not? Ugh,
Oh my
dirty. My
goodness.
goodness.
That's
Yes.
so sad for you.
Yes.
Anyway.
Okay. Okay. So the other thing is restaurants don't compost either,
Okay,
which
yeah.
is a little shocking to me. So,
Mhm.
according to the Solus Group, in 2018, the National Restaurant Association reported that only 14% of restaurants composted any food waste. And I think about that. I know maybe two places that I can think of that I frequent with any regularity. Not that I can afford to eat out anymore, but that
Yeah.
have a compost section in their, when you go out to throw out your food.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
it's very rare that they have a composting,
Huh.
you know.
Yeah, I don't really blame them for not doing that because I feel like people would just throw
Oh,
their
they
trash
just
in
throw their
there, but,
trash in it. Yeah, 100%.
yeah, I feel like in the alley, there might be a way. I tried to convince this coffee shop that I worked at to compost for a while, and he was not feeling it, so
I mean, at least the coffee grounds,
no, that's what it was, yeah,
and the
but he
filters.
was like, "It's too messy, I don't wanna deal with it," so
And that's exactly it. It's too
yeah.
messy, which is why we come up with food hydrators or dehydrators
Mhm. Kitchen
to
bins.
kitchen bins. Yep. Okay, so what's a girl to do? Okay, and in comes the ugly food movement, right?
Mhm.
If you're on social media at all, like me, you've probably seen ads for Imperfect Produce, Hungry Harvest, or other ugly quote unquote produce boxes.
Yes.
So they send supposedly unsellable produce that farms or manufacturers are just going to throw away to your door every month.
Mhm.
This is the 16% or 20 billion pounds of produce that gets thrown away every year from farms. Okay, they say.
Mhm.
Okay, critiques. I don't know if I talked enough about what they do to make it worth just diving into the critiques, but
So they suck, and here's
no.
why.
Well, here's the thing: the new food economy, which is like a group of charities that focus on food waste. They say the issue with these boxes is that they commodify and gentrify food waste, right? So that the food that goes into ugly produce boxes really isn't going to go into landfills in the first place. Usually that stuff is turned into other food. So stuff that they can't put
Mm.
on the shelf because it's bruised or too ugly, like a bruised apple is turned into applesauce.
That's what I was just thinking.
Yeah. Shredded
Huh.
carrots, where do you think they come from? Where do you think baby carrots come from? Ugly carrots.
I wondered about that.
Ketchup, tomato paste, diced tomatoes, anything canned that's kind of a mush,
Hmm.
it's ugly food.
Hmm.
Now, another issue that they bring up is that a lot of these crops often get donated to food banks.
Okay.
So they're basically taking it out of the mouths of the poor, is what they're saying.
Wow.
Hmm. The other thing is that ugly food can get sold to restaurants because they don't care what it looks like if they're just going to chop it up and make it into a puree anyway, right?
Right.
So it's cheaper food for restaurants to get. It's also a lot of this quote unquote ugly food, and this kind of ticked me off a little bit, but it's sold at a lower price to grocery stores in lower income neighborhoods, where
Oh.
again it can be sold for less. So poor people deserve ugly food, I guess, is kind of what which when it comes down to it, who cares what it looks like? The nutritional value of a carrot isn't based on what it's shaped like. Okay, we should
Mhm.
all quit being so freaking bougie about how our food looks.
Yeah, and I was gonna say one problem I could see is if somebody is hesitant to I'm just thinking of kids really, but, like, if a kid is like, "Oh, that carrot's weird." I don't know.
Well, you chop it up. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
I mean, and maybe you just teach the kid you can't judge a book by its cover.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe
We
that's a
definitely
moment,
should.
a teachable moment. Not all food has to be Instagrammable.
Mhm.
But another pro tip, if you go to a lower income neighborhood, the produce will be cheaper. It'll look uglier. There is some concern. I remember a couple years ago when I lived in New Jersey, there was someone who pointed out that produce, and okay, we lived in kind of the place where we lived in New Jersey was split between like super, super wealthy $3 million homes and then like just down the street was a much lower income neighborhood. And
Mhm.
the difference between the grocery store on like they were a mile apart. There was a Whole Foods at the top of the hill and like a pathway or whatever at the bottom of the hill. And the produce at the pathway was uglier and not in as good condition. It was cheaper, but it's kind of it always gave me the ick, you know, like
Mhm.
why
Yeah, like, why yeah, why how does yeah,
why do rich
wow.
people deserve fresher
What
food?
are these systems? Yeah.
Well, that like one of the somebody wrote an article about it in one of the local papers, and she said, at Whole Foods, all of the asparagus is stored in water, like
Mhm.
standing upright in water. At the pathway, it's not. It's just kind of wilting. So
Right.
like, yeah, I don't know. It's why do poor people deserve less fresh food?
Yeah, they don't.
But at the same time, affordable food is more. If there are 34 million Americans suffering from food insecurity,
Mhm.
affordable food matters. So
Right.
it's more concerning that these food boxes would be taking donated food away from food banks.
I truly never would have thought. I
Yeah.
would yeah, that's really interesting.
I have done a lot of work with food banks. They're one of, I don't think they should exist because I think that we live in the richest country in the world. And why are they hungry, especially children? Are you kidding me?
Mhm.
Hungry seniors and children. Like we had a social welfare network until the 80s. And,
Mhm.
big capitalist government got rid of it. And that's when food banks came about. This is the 1980s. We didn't have them before then. And,
Whoa, I didn't know that.
yeah,
Holy
that
shit.
because we had a welfare system that actually took care of people.
Sigh.
So anyway, food banks should not exist in my opinion, but they do such important work just getting
Mhm.
food to people who don't have access to it. Anyway, donate to your local food bank. I'll get into that in a minute. Anyway,
Okay,
so
I was gonna ask, but go.
okay, so at the bottom line, the biggest critique is instead of handling food waste, they're handling food surplus. Okay.
Mhm.
This means they're incentivizing farmers to keep producing excess food, especially big agriculture.
Hmm.
They may be taking food away from food banks or even grocery stores in lower income neighborhoods where it can be sold at a lower price. They're again taking food out of the mouths of lower income people or people who can't afford it. So those are some pretty big critiques. Also, somebody pointed out in the Berkeley Economic Review, one of the food scientists pointed out that a lot of the food that's wasted by farms isn't wasted because it was picked and determined to be ugly. It's wasted because there is a labor shortage because of our immigration policies. So the food just
Ah,
isn't picked, especially in big agricultural farms. It's just laid out to waste because nobody's picking it.
okay.
So ugly food box isn't going to solve that problem,
Yeah.
right? That's an immigration policy issue and a farm labor union issue. That's so
Mhm.
much, labor issue. huge other problem. Now, another issue that people have with the ugly food movement is they may be taking money away from CSAs. So community supported agriculture, which we've talked about. Now, CSAs are really good for farm waste because they're small scale farms. And the way that most of them work is you have a subscription from stakeholders who pay in advance. The farm knows what its membership size is and plants crops accordingly. So it doesn't grow excess food. It knows exactly who it's going to, and okay, so the
That makes me
stakeholder,
happy because I'm
yes.
part of my CSA.
Yes, exactly. It's a much more sustainable, it's
Very
local.
cool.
The farmer is also financially protected in that sense
Yeah.
because if a, crop fails, okay, sure, the stakeholders, I mean, members have taken on a little bit of the risk. So you might not get as much arugula this year as last year, but the farmer's not completely out of money because they put all their money into arugula for, 2 million people and they didn't have a crop. So,
Right. Yeah, we get all the zucchini
yeah.
and then nothing else.
Yeah, I
Just
know.
kidding.
Yeah, I think we had months and months of just like potatoes.
Yeah,
They're like, "We
I'm
had a
about to
bumper
make
crop of
some.
potatoes, y'all, like, here's some potato recipes."
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Zucchini bread out the wazoo.
Yeah. Imperfect Foods and Hungry Harvest, which are the two biggest ones, have advertised themselves as CSA-style boxes.
Oh,
Mm.
I don't
So which
like that.
undercuts CSAs without addressing why CSAs exist in the first
Mhm.
place, right? They're not really community-supported agriculture. They're trying to mitigate food waste, different products there. So
Wow.
anyway, however, okay, so in their defense, Imperfect Produce claims they save 30 million pounds of food and 900 million gallons of water from being wasted every year. When asked, you know, why do you work with big ag? So one of the issues that came up was that if they get ugly produce from big factory farms, they are incentivizing the big factory farm to overproduce, right?
Mhm.
Whereas if they were only working with small farms, that's a completely different story. So they said, so Imperfect Foods claim that only 5 to 10% total of their produce comes from industrial producers like Dole,
Okay.
which means it probably wasn't destined for the landfill in the first place. Hungry Harvest says they get most of their food from farms under 500 acres that were just leaving excess food in the fields in the first place. So
Okay.
Hungry Harvest didn't have exact numbers
Okay.
on which farmers they're working with.
I don't like that either.
No, like you want some transparency.
Mhm.
Again, Imperfect Produce has a calculator that shows your impact personally if you use their service alone for groceries. So if you only buy one of their CSA style boxes, as they call it, you can save up to 384 pounds of recovered food from being tossed in a landfill, 9,000 plus gallons of water, 38 hours saved shopping. So if you just have the box come every week, and up to 288 pounds of carbon dioxide conserved. I
Okay.
don't know how they calculate all of that, but
Yeah, that was the thing with Mill. They just were very transparent about doing their own math.
yeah.
And they're like, "This might change later, but for now, this sounds really good." It's
Hmm.
like, "What?"
Yeah, I don't know
I
where.
don't know if they're doing the same thing, but
Well, I mean, it sounds like okay, they can average how many pounds of recovered food they sell every year,
Mhm.
so that makes sense. I don't know about the water though.
Right.
I mean, the hours saved shopping, yes,
Right.
fine. Okay, they also don't charge a subscription fee,
Oh,
so you pay by the box.
okay.
It is an annual, like a monthly, like my CSA was the same way. You could cancel if you were going to be in town or something. You could cancel that month, but you
Oh,
pay.
really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
this
We
was
pay ahead
10
of
years
time.
ago. Yeah. But yeah, you basically you have a week to change the items in your box around if you want to, and then they just ship it to you. Now
Okay.
they do also do what Ridwell does, so they have like everyone in your zip code gets service on the same day to reduce carbon
Okay.
output
That's
again.
nice.
Yeah. So now the smaller scale farmers that the ugly food companies do work with and purchase from, they do say they do donate less food to food banks. But
Oh,
this can be good for them because they make more money to offset their costs. Because that's the issue. When you donate to the food bank, yeah, maybe you might get a little tax break, but it's always better to sell the food for a small farmer.
okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. Smaller farms means less big ag, right? And we want
Mhm.
less big ag. We want less factory farming. We want thoughtful consumerism.
Mhm.
Also, the ugly food folks don't consider CSAs as their main competitors. And the Imperfect Foods CEO said that when they did a survey, only 1 in 10 of their customers had ever used a food delivery service at all
Oh,
previously. So they're not really stealing, and the CSA people who said that their sales had gone down 30% or whatever didn't really say if there were other market conditions. Like,
okay.
maybe people just quit pre-buying groceries in the first place.
Yeah.
Another thing is Imperfect Foods and what is it? Hungry Harvest. What did I say it was called?
Mhm. Yeah.
Hungry. I can't even remember the name. I started calling them IP and HH throughout my thing because I was like, I'm tired of typing Hungry
Yeah,
Harvest.
really?
But anyway, they also do some charitable work on top of to fight hunger on top of their supposed saving food waste. So Imperfect Foods has a reduced cost box program.
Oh,
So if you qualify for SNAP benefits, I don't think you have to be in the SNAP program. So SNAP benefits are for it's lower cost food, and you usually get an EBT card that you get some money from the government to be able to feed your family usually.
yeah.
If you are in the income level that qualifies that, even if you're not in the program, they'll send a box of ugly produce for less than it would cost to buy it from the grocery store, they say.
Okay.
Okay, so this isn't quite as good as getting a free box from your local food bank or community organization,
Yeah.
but it's still a sign that they're thinking about low income.
Can you use your Snap card on
You
the
can't yet. I looked that up.
Okay.
You can't use your SNAP card.
Doesn't really help, but okay.
Well, and the other thing is the program is completely full, so you can't even sign up anymore,
Gotcha.
which says a lot about
Yeah,
the state of America.
right. It
People
does.
are hungry, y'all.
Ugh.
Okay, but they do partner with other suppliers to supplement your produce box, is another thing. So you're not just getting ugly produce. So Imperfect Foods or Imperfect Produce, I call them Imperfect Foods, but it's Imperfect Produce.
Oh, I thought it was Imperfect Foods.
I think it's Imperfect Produce.
Okay. You're probably right.
No, it is Imperfect Foods.
Okay. Who the
I
heck
changed.
knows?
Okay, it is IF. Okay. Imperfect Foods. Correct me. It's Imperfect Foods, ladies and gentlemen. They have sustainable food partners that they work with for their own line of foods where they make like, yogurt dip pretzels from rescued sprinkles, right? Or upcycled food or leftover ingredients from other food producers. So they're taking other types of food waste and making new snacks out of it.
Did you just say rescued sprinkles?
Yes, that's the example they use.
Oh my
Rescued
god, I'm
sprinkles. I
thinking
know. I
like
was like,
a sprinkle rescue.
I like the idea of upcycled food. I mean, they're taking green hooey words, and
Ooh.
but it is an interesting concept, right? They're using what other producers are throwing away and making a new line of food that you can put in your grocery box, right?
Right.
So I kind of thought that was kind of a cool idea.
Yeah, it's a cool idea. It's just don't call it rescued sprinkles.
I know.
It's so stupid.
I know. I'm like, and your rescued sprinkles for your rescued pit bull.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
okay, so they have all these initiatives, and I feel like they kind of responded to their critics pretty well. I do not. I don't know. It is again. Oh boy, another rich people thing you can do, to feel better about yourself, right?
How much you might get into this, but how much does a box cost?
That I actually didn't get into. I need to get into that. Let me look that up real quick.
I don't
Hang
know.
on.
I don't know if there's like a standard. Because I'm just curious if it would be more than my CSA. Because I come away with my CSA with like so much food.
Yeah. Okay. Let me see. I know they just started. Let's. You can just come with me on this ride. So let me put in my zip code. Get started. Okay. So they rescue food from going to waste. You shop during your window. We deliver your blah 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 blah. Let's see. What am I shopping for? One adult. So here's your window. This is not a very good website. Okay. I don't care about organic. So they ask you that too. Do I have any dietary restrictions? I eat it all. Okay. What do I buy each week? You can decide. I do meat and fish. I do produce, pantry, dairy. Okay.
Oh, they send meat too.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay. They're saving my answers. Let's see how much
Ugly
it
meat.
costs.
No, I was kidding.
Yeah, I know. Well, yeah. I think that's one of the things I do.
What?
Okay. So $36 to $46 for one adult.
Per box. I guess it depends how much food there is, but
Yeah. Or what items? Like if you don't get meat one week or you don't get dairy.
yeah. And
or
for
you don't get
one
snacks.
person,
Yeah.
that's
That's probably about what I spend. And okay, and they do charge for delivery.
oh,
So it's free delivery for orders over $60.
okay.
So I use Instacart,
Mhm.
and that it might actually be more for me because I always have to, if I do $40, I get free delivery. But then I tip. Mm,
Yeah,
mm,
Instacart actually jacks up their prices,
mm-hmm.
like the prices of the products. It's not
Yes.
just you're paying a fee. I did a comparison of Safeway,
Yeah.
and I did like Instacart Safeway versus regular Safeway on their website, and it was the actual products were more expensive per
Yeah.
product.
Well, and they actually started a new thing where that it shows like for a lot of their items if it's similar to what's in the store.
Oh, okay.
But I think that's mostly for like Total Wine or like alcohol.
Okay.
It's just I hate going to the grocery store so much.
Oh, that's funny. I actually kind of like it, but
Yeah, I know. The guy I'm dating loves the grocery store. But it's just for me, it's like I get overwhelmed when I go to the grocery store. It's just easier for me
yeah,
to have somebody else do it. And also
I
like
get that.
it's an hour. Like parking is I don't know.
No,
It's
I know, I get it. My grocery store is kind of lovely because it's suburban, so
yeah, there's room, there's always parking.
yep.
You're not like elbowing people.
Mhm.
I always feel like I'm stuck in line behind the one person who's like writing a check or something, you know?
Yes. Probably my grandma.
Yep. Anyway, is it worth it? They are supporting small farms.
Mhm.
They donate a lot of their proceeds to fight hunger, and they're
Okay.
fighting the stupid aesthetic standards that we all have for food, right? They're like, make
Mhm.
it, we don't need food to be fashion. Okay, but they may be perpetuating big agriculture's incentive to overproduce.
Yep.
If you're already grocery shopping and buying other produce anyway, you're just adding another rung on your carbon footprint via delivery. Although we did talk about how having, if you're only shopping, if you're only getting your food from Imperfect Foods, it might be better anyway because you're saving a carbon footprint that way.
Yeah.
But let's also not forget to mention
I
packaging,
feel like
cardboard box. Mhm.
yeah, well, I was gonna say, I feel like the chances of you getting every single item you need from this box for your entire week's worth of food are so slim.
I don't know. I wonder about it because my CSA started selling dairy and meat and stuff, and it was like
Uh-huh.
when they had like rice, it was actually like a one stop shop, and I found that. But
Okay.
I was just shopping for me. That's another thing.
Right.
If you
Yeah.
need baby items, and the other thing is like I'm
Like
not buying my shampoo from them, right? So,
yeah.
but yeah, or like you need a bottle of Coca Cola, they're not gonna have it. Not that anyone needs a bottle of Coca Cola. But yeah, I mean it's a possibility. They also okay. Hungry Harvest only delivers to Maryland, DC, Philly, Southern New Jersey, Northern Delaware. I spelled Delaware really funny in this. Delaware. Wayer. I guess I was thinking about it phonetically. And then Raleigh, North Carolina. Imperfect Foods is in the West South Central region, the Midwest, the Northeast, and the West Coast.
Okay.
They did have I looked them up for my old zip code in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and they had a partner that they worked with called
Oh.
Misfit something.
Oh, yeah, I've
So
seen that.
yeah. So it looks like Imperfect Foods has a wider reach. But yeah, I don't know. Just because there's so much nuance to it, and I'm kind of like not really sure you need to buy ugly food. Like
Mhm.
maybe just buy from your local farm. My granola rating, I gave it a chewy, so a 3 out of 5.
Did we talk about what this is?
Our granola rating, we did at the beginning a little bit, but when we go
Okay.
into more detailed, we rate all of our products and services on a scale of 1 to 5 granolas, 1 being soggy, which is bad, 5 being break your tooth off, which is good because you want crunchy granola. The crunchier, the better.
Mhm.
This I gave a chewy, which is
Chewy.
medium. Okay.
3 out of 5.
Yeah, they
So
may be doing
that's
some
not
good.
bad,
They may
actually.
be rescuing some ugly food. Again, if you're going to get your groceries delivered anyway, why not get it from? It seems like they're affordable. It's better probably than buying just from a local grocery store that just goes straight to big agriculture. You're definitely
Mhm.
they have options for organic and other food strictures. So it's kind of like a CSA, but I don't know. Maybe it's better to get a CSA.
Right.
What I want to talk about is, where do we go from here? Okay, Imperfect Foods isn't solving the whole problem because it's higher up the food chain. We need big ag to quit producing extra food, but we also need the biggest thing is we need you and me, the individual consumers, to stop throwing food away. Just stop.
Mhm.
Only buy what you need. It's the leading cause of wasted food in the US.
Yeah, I'm really amazed.
I
It's
know
it
it's
real
the
this
yeah,
a lot of stuff is like we feel like we can't really make an impact, but like this we really
this is the
can.
one. This fast fashion. Quit buying new clothes,
Mhm.
quit throwing new clothes away, and quit buying new food. Just quit. I
Yeah.
mean, not okay, don't quit buying new food.
Don't buy food.
Don't buy
Yeah,
food.
I was gonna say, I for a while I felt like a big food waster, because I don't know, I just felt like really frenzied and I didn't plan. I didn't have time for meal planning and all
Yeah.
that shit.
Yeah.
I didn't think I did, and I still don't. But
Yeah.
um, but then what I did was I just stopped buying as much when I went to the grocery store. It's not like
Yeah.
I had a better plan or a better system. I just stopped buying as many meals worth of food
Yeah.
because a lot of them were like, fingers crossed, I'll make that food.
Yeah. No, that's my thing is I have
And it
greatly
helped.
yeah, I have greatly overestimated my capacity for making food in the
Yes.
past few years because I've just been worn out and exhausted and I just don't have the bandwidth to bring a meal together. And the thing is, the way that I've solved that problem is I buy pre-made meals and I
Yeah.
just heat them up because I just can't right now. Like I have all the ingredients to make things and it's like something in me. I'm too exhausted to chop an onion, which is so depressing.
I know. No, but a lot of us are in the same boat,
Yeah.
and yeah, but
Burnout.
I did notice, like, I think I was worried if I don't get all my food right now, then we're
Oh
gonna have
yeah.
a night where we don't have anything to make for dinner or whatever, but
Yeah.
that hadn't happened, and it actually made me less stressed about
Yeah.
having all this shit to cook.
Yeah. You just have to jump. Just
Mhm.
take the plunge. I mean, there's something about like girl dinner, right? Have you heard about girl dinner?
No.
It's kind of like whatever you have in the pantry, like
Oh,
a 20-year-old who comes home and is like, I don't want to order Uber Eats again. And so
right.
you end up with like popcorn. I have popcorn for dinner a lot,
Huh.
but it's just like whatever, like a bag of Cheetos, a
Cereal.
glass of wine, and some cereal. Yeah, cereal is a big girl dinner. That's a
Yes.
giant girl. I mean, when you don't have kids, it's different. I mean, when you have to make mealtime, and I do enjoy. I miss cooking. I almost yeah. I was supposed to make a sauce today and make spaghetti, and I just couldn't do it. So I had a pre-bagged salad. And then here's what I wanted to start this off with.
Mhm.
Okay, again, stop relying on sell by dates. Quit throwing your food out just because it says sell by or best if used by,
Mhm.
unless it's infant formula.
Right.
Refrigeration is a wonder. We can keep food a lot longer than our ancestors ever could. RTS said the two things best if used by or sell by means it may lose quality, but it'll be safe to consume after this date. You can
So interesting.
still eat these things past their dates. Use by is the rare but highly perishable item that may have a safety concern over time. This is the stuff you need to
Ah,
be careful about.
so meat.
Yeah. Okay. The rule of thumb is if it's moldy, especially if it's bread, or clearly rotten, yeah, throw it away. Okay.
Mhm.
Generally, food is probably still okay if it's past its quote unquote expiration date, even meat sometimes. The Atlantic says follow your nose. Smell stuff that has a past its date. If it smells rancid, if it stinks really bad, doesn't smell like it's supposed to, don't eat it. Even then, it's highly likely it won't kill you. So don't be quite so worried about, and some things, if you just cook them, it kills all the bacteria. I don't want
Right.
to advocate like taking the 4-month-old meat. Freeze stuff. Freeze stuff if you're not going to use it. I bought chicken the other day and I realized I hadn't eaten it and I was out of town and I called my roommate and he put it in the freezer. I have a
Yeah.
frozen thing of chicken.
Yes, and then you're like, "Yay, chicken!"
Chicken, I have chicken. But you can use stuff that smells a little off. Some of it, like spoiled milk, if it hasn't curdled, you can actually bake with it.
Oh, baking. That's
Yeah.
interesting. See, I might do that. I wouldn't
Yeah.
just drink it,
Yeah.
but
Maybe
put it
don't
in my
just because
cereal.
the smell might put you off. But you can also
Yeah.
make paneer, which is a kind of cheese. It's really easy. You just add lemon juice to
What? I love paneer.
yeah, paneer's
Oh my
so easy to
god,
make.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
that's
slightly older milk that doesn't smell great but isn't I mean even if it is a little curdled, you can still make cheese out of it.
whoa, amazing.
Yeah.
I use eggs. My mom told me, like, eggs are good for, like, a month after their
Yeah.
expiration date
Yeah.
usually, maybe longer.
Eggs are probably especially if you refrigerate them.
Yeah.
Stale bread you can make into breadcrumbs or croutons, or the way the French do it is they make French toast out of it. Pain perdu means
Mhm.
lost bread. It's bread that's gone stale.
Love it.
And who cares if your cereal is a little stale if you're just going to soak it in milk anyway?
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, quit
I
being a snob.
use the stalest. I used to make homemade bread, and I use the stalest possible bread. I was like, "I'm gonna make something out
Yes.
of this." So I used it for French toast, and it was pretty chewy,
Yeah.
but also delicious.
I mean, just gotta soak it a little longer in the
Yeah.
egg milk mixture. Yeah.
Yep.
Put more syrup on it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Freeze stuff before, if you think you're not gonna be able to use it, broccoli, meat, everything, just throw it in the freezer. Also, if you have jars of stuff that you're not gonna use, donate them. Go to that food bank.
Yeah.
My neighborhood has a free fridge by one of the restaurants that you can just,
Oh.
yeah, I have like a jar of hominy that I ended up with, and I'm not going to use hominy.
Right. Nobody will.
Well,
That's not
I
true,
make
but
pozole, but I use frozen pozole. I don't use like canned hominy. Give me a break
mhm.
here. Okay, also composting. Start composting.
Love it.
That's, if you're gotta
Listen to
throw
my
food
last
away or
episode.
scraps, compost it. I know not everyone has access to compost, but it can really help. Start lobbying your city or state to create composting programs for residents and to get restaurants and farms to be mandated to do so. That's a big one. Because if
Mm.
43% of our food waste comes from us,
Mhm.
as individual consumers, 40% still comes from restaurants and business
Right.
to consumer grocery stores. They need to be composting.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
Wow.
We're also going to talk about Too Good to Go, which is something that my roommate uses, which is when stuff is a little bit past it's like it didn't sell the day it was fresh, like donuts,
Mhm.
and they'll just put it up on this Too Good to Go app, and you can
Oh.
like sign up to go get it, and you get it for free.
Oh, wow.
So like bagels and things that didn't sell, or donuts or
What? Oh my
sandwiches.
gosh, this just reminded me when I was young, I was, like, probably early 20s, I went dumpster diving,
Yep.
and it was just a one-night thing, but we actually found clean trash bag a trash can with a clean bag lined, perfectly clean, perfectly safe, full, chock full of same-day Panera
Yep.
bagels
Yep.
and other
They can't donate
goodies.
them. Yeah.
Yeah,
They
so I
have to throw
took
them away.
yeah, we took a shitload. We got, like, bread and
Yeah.
bagels and everything. We took it home and froze it. It was great.
Yeah, I worked in a coffee shop in college, and we couldn't donate our bagels at the end of the day, and so whoever worked the last shift just took them home. I
Oh,
had like
yeah.
a freezer full of bagels. It was like,
Yes. You get so
I
sick of
can't
them
eat
after a
another
while.
bagel. Yeah, but I mean they're nice. That's let's mitigate food waste. I mean, first of all, I
Yeah.
shouldn't be. You would want restaurants to be able to manage their numbers enough to know they're not going to need that many, but
Mhm.
what can you do?
Yeah. Wow.
Well,
Very
another way
cool.
is sign up for your local CSA, because local
Yay.
farming is better than big ag.
It's also really fun. It's my
Yeah.
weekly ritual every Friday.
Yeah. I need to look into a CSA here. Maybe that's the thing. When I had bunny rabbits, like
Mhm.
it was great to have a CSA because they would give me like a giant bag of greens, and I'd be like, "All right." I always looked very healthy. I was not. It was the bunnies.
Yeah, that's
The bunnies
perfect.
ate the greens, but yeah. Okay. And lastly, quit caring what your produce looks like.
Love it.
Buy the bruised apple. Maybe go to a lower income neighborhood and see what it's like to shop there, and get your
Yeah.
your cheaper produce. I mean, I don't, again, I don't want to advocate like I don't know. There's
What
so much wrong with
I know.
that in so many
Well,
ways.
yeah, I was gonna say it could be really eye-opening, though, to go and see how different it is if it is different.
Right. Or like if it's cheaper but it's still edible. Or like not even just edible, but like it's still good food.
Mhm.
It just has a bruise. Oh, my dog just busted in here. He is ready for his evening walk. I see you. Hi. Okay.
Ma'am, it's
Eh,
time.
It's time. He's like, get done here, lady. All right. Thank you for listening tonight. And I hope this helps with food waste and the ugly food movement. I might try it. Maybe I'll try it and see.
Yeah, I would be curious. I would definitely love to hear if you do try it. But I
Yeah.
mean, now I'm quite a bit more skeptical of it,
Yeah. I mean,
but
yeah.
yeah. It's a mixed bag like a lot of things.
Yeah. Like so many things. So we'll see. Anyway, well, thank you for listening again. Hit us up
Thank
on
you.
your review down there. Give us 5 stars if you can. It really helps us out.
Yay, please do. That
And we
would mean a
appreciate your
lot.
listening to us. And we will talk to you next week. Oh,
Next
what are we
week.
talking about next week?
Oh yeah, good call. Let me see. Bulk shopping. Oh yeah, it's a cat two in a row.
Cat, 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 back to
Cat,
back.
cat, cat. You're talking about bulk shopping and
Yeah.
try
Take those.
examining whether that helps or
Yeah.
not.
Take those reusable jars that you saved and go buy your food in bulk.
Oh,
And I
I'm
know Whole
so
Foods does it.
interested.
There's
Yeah.
bulk sections.
Oh, yeah.
I might try it out.
Yes.
I'll let you know how it goes.
I might try it out too, actually.
Okay.
Because we have tons of like health food stores. So
yeah, and this is like, what do you mean I can't order Instacart? But this could be a fun date for me and the man who loves going to the grocery store.
there you go. Perfect. Okay, we're going to buy bulk.
I think he's behind on listening, so he's gonna be like, "Why are you talking about me on your podcast?" Because you're so great. Okay. Anyway, all right. I will talk to you next week about bulk foods.
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right. Feel better, Div.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.